Hey everyone, it's Carol Garrison with Carol's Creative Escape, and welcome to another Make It Monday. It is Monday, August 22nd, 2022, and I appreciate so much taking some time out of your busy Monday to watch my Make It Monday video for the evening. I hope everybody had a really good week since we met together last week. I certainly had a busy time of it. I believe I mentioned to you that I'm looking over here to make sure that my iPad is reflecting the right live so that I know I'm in the right place. And I'm there, so now I'll stop looking that way. Anyhow, hi Beth, thanks for joining in tonight. I appreciate it. I mentioned last week in the video that I kind of had a big weekend coming up because it was a high school reunion time. It was actually my 40th high school reunion. Now, I haven't been back to a reunion, I think it's been 20 years since I last went to a reunion for a variety of reasons. And I shouldn't even say since I've gone back to a reunion because I'm really not that far from where I went to high school, so I don't have to travel or anything to get there. But anyhow, I joined the group for a Friday evening happy hour. Hi, Kim. Thanks for joining. And it was a really fun night. Just reconnecting with people, lots of conversation, lots of talking. We had gorgeous weather, so we were able to sit outside at a restaurant in their patio area, which had been reserved for our group. So we had a good time with that. The best part of that is my friend, hi Ann, Kelly, who I've known her since 7th grade. We actually met in the 7th grade band. Both of us played clarinet, and she was able to come up from Colorado and join my husband and me at our house for the duration of the time that she was in town. She just went back home this morning, and with COVID and everything, we just haven't seen each other quite as often as we used to. So it was nice to catch up with her. She got a chance to meet Cece, and we spent some good time together, and she was also able to catch up with lots of friends. So anyhow, that part was a very busy weekend. You'll also notice that, possibly noticed anyhow, that I participated in a couple of social media type online things to honor Susan Campfield, who is the person that I work under with Stampin' Up. She celebrated her 25th anniversary with Stampin' Up. So some of our team put together a fun fold Bendy card, which is what I'm going to show you how to make tonight. And we did a little blog hop with that, and I did a first ever Instagram hop following her. So if you haven't had a chance, be sure to check that out. Lots of great examples of how to make this card, and each one is different and equally as pretty as the last one. So make sure you get a chance to do that. You'll find a link to the blog hop on my Carol's Creative Escape business page, and then my Instagram can be located at Carol's_creative_escape on Instagram, and it's just a different way to see a bunch of things pretty quick as well. So that was fun, and I also created my first ever reel for Stampin' Up product card layout on Instagram as well. That was a challenge. I hope it gets easier, but it was fun putting that together too. So anyhow, enough of the chit chat. Let me flip you over on the camera, and we will get going on the card here. It's a very fun one to make, and I'm anxious to share it with you here. All right, so you can see my somewhat messy desk as I try to get my phone out. Okay. Hi, Angel. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. All right, I'll let my phone focus in down here. Sometimes it takes a little bit of convincing to catch up with the right thing. Hopefully it does. I'm going to give it a second or two. And I just wanted to show you this. I'm actually going to do a box opening because this box is so pretty. I got my new paper pumpkin. This is actually the August 22 paper pumpkin, and it was so popular. Unfortunately, we aren't going to be able to get any refills on this one, but I would like to show you this box so that you can see how pretty it is, and just imagine what this is going to look like on the inside. Isn't that gorgeous? So because it is so pretty, I think I'm just going to do a quick box opening video, and I'll post it online so that you guys can see that. But I don't keep generally paper pumpkins, you know. They come in these Poppy Parade boxes, and they're very nice, and they're good for sending packages in and stuff. But I get one of these every month, so I don't hang on to these. But when they come in these special boxes, I always hang on to these. I'll store bits and pieces of leftover scraps or whatever in them, or sometimes I'll send a package off to people with the pretty box. Has nothing to do at all with the card that I'm going to show you tonight, but I just had to share that beautiful box that came in the mail today. All right, let me show you the cards that we're going to make tonight. I'm going to give you a couple examples. This one is using the free stamp set that comes in Celebration, and Celebration does end at the end of August. So this is the Wonderful World stamp set and coordinating designer series paper, and I used an embossing folder just to add a little texture. I punched this, die cut this right out of the designer series paper, so kept it pretty simple and easy to make. And then when you open it up, it's got this little fun bend to it. So this piece, it works better if I actually show you from the top down. It kind of bends out, and then this center piece will wobble. So that's kind of fun. So the inside, I just used some more of the paper. I will confess that this was actually kind of my trial to make the card. I just want to make sure I was doing it right. But I like it. It's not the smoothest on the inside. I wouldn't give this to anyone because it isn't finished as fancy as it could be, but I did like it a lot. And then I wanted to use the dragonfly stamp in the ferns, and this paper, I've showed this to you before. It's called Pretty Prints, and it comes in Evening Evergreen, Bermuda Bay, Blackberry Bliss, and Calypso Coral colors. It has fern images on some of the designer series paper, and so I wanted to tie that in with the dragonfly. For some reason, I think all those things go together. I don't know why. I'm going to try to drop my camera down here and see if I can't get focused in just a little bit closer here. Sorry for the movement. Hopefully that's going to help a little bit. Anyhow, I used the Bermuda Bay color of the paper, and then Bermuda Bay cardstock along with basic white cardstock. And this is that fern embossing folder that I was telling you about. And then on the inside, I just did the stamp that's in, it's called Dragonfly. Dragonfly something, just a minute. I always say I'm going to have all this stuff written down, and I always find something I didn't do. It is Dragonfly Garden, and so that's where this floral image is from. And I did just add a little bit of Wink of Stella. This is the baby dragonfly that you get off the punch. And for some reason, whenever I do dragonflies, I always have to have bling on it. And then it's just a couple of the different pieces of the designer series paper, so you can kind of see where I'm getting the fern look for that. And on this one, it got dirty when I was moving around to take pictures, but because there's not a lot of space to write on, I did add some white strips on the back so that you could leave a note. And I think the belly band piece is the best part of the card. Just a little bit of paper, basic white, and stamping and stuff. But then with its dragonfly, what I did is I stamped it with Bermuda Bay ink on Bermuda Bay paper, and then I stamped it with Bermuda Bay ink again on vellum, and I embossed that with the clear embossing powder, and that got me the Bermuda Bay color on that dragonfly. So I thought that turned out pretty cool. So I want to show you how to make this card tonight. And I will start by giving you the measurements. There are a lot of pieces to this, so if you want to be able to recreate this, why don't you go grab a paper and pencil real quick, and I will start rattling off measurements for you in just a moment. It is not a hard card to make, it really isn't, but it does have just a lot of pieces to it, so just be aware of that. I am using fresh freesia for my card base, and this measures 5.5 by 8.5, and I have it scored at 2 1/8, 4 1/4, and then 6 3/8. And then it takes another piece of fresh freesia, and this piece measures 1 by 5 1/8, and it is scored at a 1/2 inch and 4 5/8 of an inch, basically a 1/2 inch from either end. And then there's another piece of fresh freesia, and this one measures 1 by 3, and I have this one scored at 1 inch, 1.5 nope, excuse me, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inches, and 2.5 inches. And then I've got a piece of Pool Party, and this measures 1 by 9 1/4. That's going to form the base of the belly band. And then I have a piece of Gorgeous Grape, and this piece measures 2.5 by 3 3/4. And then I also have two pieces of, ooh, I don't know what that is. Hopefully I can cover that up. Two pieces of basic white cardstock that measure 2 inches by 5 3/8 inch. And I ran this through my cut and emboss machine using the Time Worn Type 3D folder. So just to give it a little bit of texture, I'm going to see if I can, oh, how lucky was that? I was able to erase whatever that was. Good. Just added a little bit of pop. And then I have 4 pieces of Designer Series paper. This is the Hues of Happiness Designer Series paper. Each of these measures 2 inches by 5 3/8 inch, just like the white pieces. I have one more piece of that Designer Series paper that measures, I want to make sure I'm giving you the right measurements, 2 1/4 by 3 1/2. And then this piece will be a decorative strip on our belly band, and that measures 3/4 by 9 1/4 inches. And then I just used a piece of basic white cardstock scrap to die cut a circle that I used my blending brushes on with a little bit of fresh freesia and a little bit of Gorgeous Grape. I've got one of the flowers from the Hues of Happiness stamp set that I die cut and used blender pens to color it. And then because there's so much to this, I saved a little bit of time by just die cutting one of the flowers from the Hues of Happiness Designer Series paper, just using the dies that come with this. And then for my sentiment, I am using the Charming Sentiments, Wishing You Everything Wonderful. And that's that wonderful set that comes with the dies that die cut all of the sentiments out so nicely. And last but not least, I'm topping it off with some of this metallic mesh ribbon in the silver. Okay, I think that gives you all of the pieces. Trust me, this card is not that hard to make. Alrighty, so we're going to start by taking our seal, and I am just going to apply the Designer Series paper to this piece of cardstock, and it does match lengthwise, so I know I can just line it up at the end, and then I want to get it on here as straight as possible. All right, so we've got that first piece done, and then I am just going to put a little bit of tear and tape on one end, because when I wrap this around the card, I will peel that tape off and use that to seal off the belly band so that it stays in place. Okay, and then this next bit, what we are going to do is fold our cardstock along the score lines. You are going to want to burnish this with your bone folder. And so we'll fold it in the center, and then we're going to fold each of these pieces in. And it doesn't matter if they line up exactly. This one is just a titch further apart, so I'm going to kind of push it together a little bit. You know, they can overlap a little bit or be just separated a little bit without really affecting the card a whole lot, but mine wasn't exactly where I wanted it to be. So what I'm going to do is we've got that part folded now, and then we're going to take this 1 by 5 3/8 inch strip, and we have it scored at 1/2 inch on each end. And I should tell you the story behind this bendy card. This is one that Susan Campfield did on one of her Facebook Lives. And as part of her celebration, like I said, all of the demonstrators had received one of her tutorials that included this card as a gift from her. And we all decided to go in and make this one. So this is a design or a fun fold that I learned to do from Susan. And now I'm just incorporating it in a whole different piece of paper. Not paper, but layout, colors, that kind of thing. Let me put a little bit of tear and tape on the ends of these. I'm opting for tear and tape instead of regular adhesive because this card is going to be opened up a few times, I think. And so I want to make sure that this is really going to adhere to the cardstock and not fall off. And then we've got this 1 by 3 inch that's folded or scored at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inch, 2.5 inches. And what I'm going to do is a valley fold, mountain fold, valley fold. So we end up with this square. This piece forms the wobble part. And I am just going to take my bone folder and again crease it in. And once more, I'm going to use my tear and tape. You can use any type of adhesive. I'm just more comfortable on pieces like this. Whoops, good thing that's the back of my card. Using my tear and tape. It's just personal preference. And I do find that if you take your bone folder and just burnish down on the tear and tape, you can get the back off just a little bit easier. So I think we have things all scored and folded, so we're kind of ready to start assembling. So the first thing that we're going to do is put together our designer series paper onto our card fronts. Now I'm mixing patterns from the Hues of Happiness, and that's what's nice because it allows us to be able to do that. I am deliberately choosing to keep a simpler pattern in the center of my card because I want the wobble that I create to be the main focus of my card, if that makes sense. So we're going to put it together something like this. Now, when we put this together, this piece is actually going to be adhered underneath our cardstock. What I have found works better for me, I've seen it where people have put this piece on and then slide these pieces of cardstock in. I personally find it easier if I do these two pieces of cardstock. And if you notice, I'm putting my seal down the center of the cardstock. Did I just do that wrong? Nope, that's the wrong piece. That's my, oh no, I didn't. Oh, Carol. Heart attack. I thought I was using my front piece there. By going down the center here, what that's going to allow me to do is to tuck that one strip of paper in without worrying whether I have it placed right before I lay down the designer series paper. So hopefully that makes sense. So I'm going to center these in the middle here, and then I'm just going to start with one piece of the backing removed, and I want it centered up and down, fairly centered, and you want the fold to be lined up with that score line. So I'll press that down, and then I'll repeat that process over here. And again, I'm going to just tuck it in, make sure I've got it fairly straight. And that way, for me, that just works better, okay? And you can see where we've got the bend in here. And this might be a little poofier as I'm looking at it, but we're going to make it work. We will make it work. I'm going to see if I can tuck this side in a little bit further, because that kind of looks like the one that maybe I didn't get tucked in quite far enough. So I'll lay it flat, and you know what, I'm going to add a new score line, because it looks like I may have cut this at 5 1/2 instead of 5 3/8. Let me redo this step. Okay. Yeah, I think that is going to tuck in a bit better than my first piece. Okay. And I'm just going to score that so we get it going. Okay. Yeah, much better. It's closing. Not going to worry too much about this wrinkle because that'll get covered up. Okay, then we're going to take these other two pieces of designer series paper, run some seal on them, and we will attach these centered on the inside flaps. And I'm going to make this so that the gorgeous grape flowers are both going to be on the outside. No particular reason why. Oops, cat here. Just something I'm doing. That is not laying quite as flat as I would like it to, but for what I'm doing tonight, it's just going to have to work. I'll get that fixed. I wonder if I can just, there we go. That'll help get it a little flatter. Okay, so that pretty much takes care of the inside except for the decoration of the bauble. So to get that set up, we're going to take this little piece of cardstock and I'm going to fold it down into a little square, and I actually just need to center it on this piece like this. And so this little thing between the bend in the card popping out and the folds in here, this is kind of where you get the wobble part. Okay, so let's hop away from here for a minute or two and start assembling the front of the card. And the first thing I'm going to do is work with my gorgeous grape layer in this piece of designer series paper. And I will layer it like so. And then we will take our two pieces of the basic white cardstock, and whenever I use this embossing folder, there are words on it, so I always have to look at it really close to make sure that I'm not putting the words on upside down on the card. I did that, I think, once when I first started using this one, so I always now double check to make sure I'm getting it right. And we're just going to put this here. I have seen designer series paper. I've used some designer series paper and stuff. I like the look of embossing anyhow. So I find that I kind of like the extra detail that that embossing gives. So that's sort of become my preferred technique on this card. All right, and then we are going to take a piece of this mesh, and I'm just going to run a piece of seal off to one side because I know my flower is going to cover that up. And real quick, I need to die cut my sentiment out. I did already stamp it, and I actually have embossed this with clear embossing powder as well. So I used my stamp apparatus so that I could first stamp it in the color and then go back and restamp it in the Versamark so that when I put clear embossing powder on, it would stick without a problem. And then I'm going to line up, again, these are those wonderful dies that line up so nicely with the sentiments in this stamp set. And so I have found that it's easier to line it up off of my cutting machine. And pretty much you just want to go kind of to the outside of the letters. And because it is so close, I just have a piece of washi tape that I'm going to lay over so that it all stays in place. And in fact, on this one, since I happen to have two pieces of washi tape, I'm going to put one on both sides. This is a slightly longer sentiment, and I just want to make sure nothing shifts. All right, then I'm going to get my little mini cutting machine. And if you remember, this one, besides being a very cute little die cut machine, it's one that I can easily leave on my desk surface and not have it take up a lot of room. So when I've got little frames like this, or even these images that I cut out, I can do that right here at my desktop. Not a huge deal. My larger machine is across the room from me, and so especially when I'm doing these lives, I prefer to just be able to go with everything at my fingertips. The one thing I've learned is it helps to stagger the plates. At least on mine, the way the pressure is, I find that I can get it going through a little bit better if I do that. But you can see, you know, it's about the length of my hand, so it's not a very big machine, and it's, including the handle, is also about the length of my hand. So very easy to use, and it just stays convenient on my desk. And a lot of our dies will work in it. They are all identified in the catalog with the word mini, so you'll know whether a die is going to work in there or not. Let me see, it'll have mini, and so you'll know that all the dies in here will fit into that little machine. Alrighty, let's pull this off. You can tell I used the back side of this paper because you can see a little bit of the fresh freesia. And there we go. So we have that die cut done. And I am actually going to assemble this with, uh-oh, where'd my blue flower go? There it is. I'm going to pop up my blue flower on dimensionals. So I want it to kind of sit on top of the sentiment. And so the sentiment, I'm just going to put some adhesive across the back, and I'll set that off a little bit to the side, and then take the back off my dimensionals so that my flower can pop up above that. And then for the inside, I have another piece of that silver ribbon, and this one I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive in the center of my circle so it'll hold that down. And then I am not going to pop this up on dimensionals because this is already kind of a thick card. I'm guessing you're going to want to check before you mail it to see if extra postage is required, or make this one that you hand deliver to somebody, because people always love to get these hand delivered as well. before I finish putting all the pieces in place, I do want to do my belly band. And how I do my belly bands is I keep the paper flat and I just set it up on the back, or around my card like this, and then I just fold over an edge. I don't get a firm crease. This allows me to kind of customize however long I need to make this, and gives me a chance to make sure that I can get it lined up. So I'll peel off the tear and tape that I put right there, and we've got it. And as strange as it sounds, I always put my seam on the front of my card. And the reason for that is 99% of the time, I'm going to be able to cover that up with whatever I'm putting on the front of the card. And that way, on the back of my card, I don't have any icky seams showing either. Now, I want to just adhere this to the front. And because I don't know exactly where I should be putting adhesive on the back of this, I'm just going to run 2 strips of adhesive right over the center, sure I am, of the card, and then I can lay this down and it will be adhered on the card, just like that. And it looks like most of that is falling on the silver ribbon, so I just need to press it down a little bit so it attaches to the paper. So that's the front of my card, and then I'll slide the belly band off to finish this. And I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive on this piece and put this beautiful purple flower in the middle. And so what you end up with is, again, this piece that kind of wobbles because the card bends out the way you've got it scored. It's nice because it stands by itself, so it can become a piece of decoration for somebody who receives it. And with that little fold, this will kind of wobble just a little bit, so it gives you a little surprise inside the card. And then you can hold it closed with the belly band. So, like I said, even though there's quite a few pieces, hey, thanks, April, even's got a little bit of purple. So it gives you a real pretty card, and depending on how you decorate it, you can get some very different looks. I know my flower's covering the sentiment up just a little bit. We can shift that off so you can see it better. But here I've got you wishing you everything wonderful. That could be a nice wedding card. We've got a couple birthday cards. This could pass for a masculine type card, and then we've got a more feminine version. And you can see in each of these, I did go with the embossing folder just to add a little texture to the front of the cards. That's kind of my style with embossing. I really do like the look of folders and the 3D things. I think that goes back to that's how I first started making cards, was doing embossing with the stencil and light table. I've mentioned that before. So I think that likeness just keeps carrying through on my cards. So anyhow, here you go. There's 3 fun fold pop-out bendy cards. And would really encourage each of you to try to make one. If you do, be sure to post it in the comments. I would really appreciate that. I'd like to see what other people create. Thanks, Donna. Yeah, I know you were an embossing person too. Anyhow, post what you make. I'd love to see what you come up with. I think we can all be inspired by each other's creativity. And I was thinking the hippos that are in the celebration catalog would make a really fun card as well. So that would be another good set to try. But just experiment and see what you come up with. I hope you have a great week, and we will see you next week. I'm hoping to I placed an order yesterday, so it's not getting processed till today or tomorrow. I'm really hoping I have it by next Monday, because there's a product in there that's been in the catalog, but I just found out about it, and I want to be able to share it with you guys, and some of the different things that you can do with it. So we will see what's happening. Hi, Sandy. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next Monday. Bye-bye.